All right, hello everybody. We are with Alex today, and we are on the Pixels. And what we're going to talk about today is Privileged Access Management, otherwise known as PAM. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Alex. He's going to introduce himself, and then we're going to get right to it.
Hi everybody. Hi Bert. I'm Alex. I'm working in the data privacy and IT security since 2010. I had projects around the world, starting from United States, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. I'm currently certified in data privacy and IT security, and one of the projects that I'm working right now is with the Erasmus program at the European Commission.
Very good. Okay, so let's get right to it. So let's talk about PAM. So what is PAM, and why is it important to modern businesses?
Okay, so privileged access management, which is PAM, it's a component of access management. So I would say let's explain a little bit what access management is, because privileged is just a part of access management. So it's just a component. So whenever you have a system, you need to provide access. So whenever users they have access to the system, actually behind it you have the access management component that is taking care of, first of all, what type of permissions that user should have and the roles that they should have in the system. Now the privileged one is related to admins. Usually the administrators are the one that are having access, are the one that are having privileged access to the system, and it's very important to control that, because for example, in the old days, everybody was providing to users access to the system as an admin, and they were able to do whatever they want, which of course it was a problem. And well, the
Right.
on this one. So, why is it important? Because you need to control access to your data. Today, the data, it's a gold mine, and if you lose access to the data, you may be also you may have problems with fines, with authorities, and receiving fines, and even losing your business because your clients won't work with you anymore. So, yeah, that's why it's very, very important to control it.
Very good. Okay, so essentially, and then you hit upon it. Privileged accounts like Ad-A accounts, service accounts. It could be even like certificates or anything such as that. So talk to me about more about why is that critically important that companies lock down or at least have some structure around their privileged accounts.
Okay, so what happens actually behind the closed doors? Whenever everybody sees a system, sees a platform, they see just an interface. But what's actually behind? Whenever we are speaking about a system, you will have the primary assets and the supporting assets. The primary assets are the primary assets of the platform, meaning the functionalities and the data. And you need to control who's having access to that. So this comes here comes the access management, and then you have the supporting assets. Everybody will think, okay, you have your own system and that's it, but actually you are interfacing the systems with a lot of other systems. You may have databases, you may have authentication platforms, you may have authorization platforms that are integrated, and anything else that may be integrated. So whenever you are speaking about access management, you should be aware not just about your system, but what's happening also in other supporting assets that are part of your system. So taking that step back, it's very important for everybody to understand. So when you are looking at your system, don't look just of the privileged access to your own system. Look of also what you have with other supporting assets, because for sure your developers, as an example, they will have access to the database, which is a different component behind, also access to the system, but access to the database and access to other components. Controlling the access and exactly what they can do is very important, because if you are giving access in all other supporting assets to your devs, as this is the example, as admins, if they do something wrong, if they handle something wrong, the system may suffer. Well, we know what happened a few months ago with the Microsoft update. It's just an example. Yeah. So we see if
Are you talking
somebody,
about CrowdStrike? Are you talking about CrowdStrike or
yes,
what? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So okay, that probably that wasn't a problem of access management, but this is what can happen if you are giving to a developer access with privileged rights. This is something that may happen. Why it's important to control the privileged access. So when we are speaking about privilege, it's not just allowing access and to see exactly who should have access. Actually, you have a number of controls that you should in place whenever we are speaking about the privileged access. So again, we said that we have the primary assets and we have the supporting assets. Then when you are coming with the PAM and you are discussing and you are seeing what's there, you have a number of controls that you need to take care. First of all, you need to define the type of access that you'll have in the system. If you have your own system and you are developing from scratch, you need to determine, you should do a risk assessment on that rights that you have determined and see if that determination is good or not. Don't let that to your developers to think how exactly you should have access in the system. The system owner, so the one that is owning the system, should do that, should understand exactly what is there, and then give the developers the right, the type of development, and implement that component of access rights. Now, we are speaking about control in terms of access rights. So, do a risk assessment on the access rights. See if those access rights, while the system is alive, you still need them or not, because probably when you started the system you had some access rights, you had some permissions and roles, but probably along the way you will have new permissions, new roles, and others are going to be deprecated and you'll need to remove them from the system. So don't let them to be there. And here I'm going to give you an example. We said about CrowdStrike. We had another example from Marriott. Marriott, a few years back, they actually acquired the company, and that company, of course, they have their own systems. And after they did the analysis, they realized that some of the systems are legacy systems and they are going to shut down. And they created a roadmap, and one of the systems was on the roadmap was put to be decommissioned in the next year. Well, what happened? One of the users that had privileged access rights was a victim of a phishing attack, and that loser lost the access to the username and the password, and the attacker entered the system and started to collect everything that was there. Microsoft realized when they actually decommissioned the system, Marriott realized that when they decommissioned the system. Well, of course, they had to inform the authorities, and the authorities issue a fine like 20 million or something. So, when I'm saying that when you are putting a privileged access management in place, it's important also to have controls, regular controls, to see exactly what's there. Review the access. After determining the access rights, review the access. Now, we just spoke about the access, but under the access we have the users. Okay, we have privileged users and other type of users. You should have controls also here. Review the users that have access to the system, privileged accounts. Review them regularly. Actually, in the IT security world, it's recommended to do it at least every 6 months, and whenever there is a change in the responsibilities of that user. If that user is migrating from a team to another, if that user is leaving the company and goes somewhere else, you should shut down that. You should remove the access within 24 hours.
Yes.
You should have some controls in place with your other departments. Yeah, for example, with HR. If HR is managing the process of somebody that is onboarding or offboarding, you should have a process with them to be sure that when somebody leaves, you will remove the access rights. Because here it's easy to say, yeah, remove the access rights. Yeah, but how? And that's actually the process that is very important, because you need inside the company to speak. If you have contractors, if you are working with suppliers that have access to the system and they are in charge of the same. So if something it's changing on their side, they should inform you. So you should have contracts in place and processes in place to be sure that this is happening. And don't rely, if you are the one that are managing the system, don't rely that somebody will inform you, because we are people, we will forget. So have controls, have triggers that every once in a while go to those teams and check. Okay, maybe they haven't informed me, but go and check. This is the review of the users. Another control that is very, very important whenever we speak to privileged accounts. Next one, other controls, passwords. Okay, so we should have passwords policy. What type of passwords should we use? Should we have multi-factor authentication or not? Well, the answer for privileged accounts is a must. You should have multi-factor authentication, because my example with Marriott, if you lose the access, well, the attacker can do whatever they want. So you should have at least a second factor authenticator. Okay, you may have single sign-on if you want. We can put that in place. That's absolutely fine. Okay. Again, going down the line, you have the authentication to the system. So actually, we discussed that. We have the authorization. You should have an authorization mechanism that will identify, based on the authorization, you identify the user and see exactly what they should have access to. This is also a component of PAM, because the authorization knows exactly where to go. Everybody thinks that.
So you have authentication and you have authorization. Yes, they're two different things.
Two different things. Two different things.
Yeah.
Now, when we are speaking about a privileged access, everybody is thinking of admins. Okay, administrators and that's it. But actually, there are multiple types of privileged access, not just admins. You may have, depending on your system, depending on how large your system is or exactly what is you are managing there, you may have multiple accounts with privileged access, different kind of privileged access, but still privileged access. So again, that's why it's very important to have an authorization system to know exactly where that goes. If something is changed automatically based on that authorization system, each user will have the functionalities that will access in the system will be changed. So it's very important to control that. If you don't have that, okay, small systems, it's something else, but big systems should have that in place. Another control: don't use default accounts. Usually when you are creating a system, you are creating admin. Yeah, I have admin, and everybody goes with the admin account, and they go in the system, and that's it.
Root.
No. Or root, exactly. So no. Never do that, because you need to be sure exactly what is happening. Why? You need to have users to have individual accounts. In case you have an incident, because now let's speak about incidents. In case you have an incident, you need to know which accounts to disable. What are those accounts that have a problem? Here kicks in also what you said.
Great point, Alex. Great point. Yeah.
Here kicks in also what you said, service accounts. Okay, a service account is an account that you, an individual user, so an individual is not using that, but is interfacing between two systems. Okay, it's very important all your accounts to be nominative accounts, to know exactly what is there, so that in case of an incident, to shut down those accounts, to disable those accounts, to mitigate the incident, and then of course do the steps that you need to do. But this is also related to accounts. Whenever you have incidents, you speak about accounts. In general, you speak about accounts. This is how the break, how attackers are breaking in. Okay. Good.
Let me ask you a follow-up question here. Let's say that a company, and this will kind of be our wrap-up question, is let's say a company wants to get a PAM solution. So, they want to get started because they feel that it's important. They want to get going on it. What do you believe to be the first steps that they need to do to start their journey to get a privileged access management solution?
Well, first of all, they need to know what they have in the system. So they should have a documentation in place about their system and exactly what is there. Having that in mind, you will know exactly what type of privilege access you need to provide, and then you will see that the solution that you are acquiring is suitable for your needs or not. So it's very important. Usually this is something that it's happening at the beginning of a project when you are developing a system, but towards the end the documentation is not updated. So you should have a documentation that it's up to date about your system, and based on that you will understand, you make an analysis, a risk assessment, and then see exactly which is the system that should come in. Unfortunately, based on my experience, what I've seen, usually the owners are looking at systems of PAM, so they are looking at different platforms without understanding what they have in their backyard. And when they are saying, okay, I want that PAM and I want to implement it, and they are saying, okay, we have budget, we are having a development team that will take care of it, happens often, unfortunately, that the system, that PAM, it's not appropriate for the system. So this is the way that I would approach it. Of course, it's high level, my answer, but it will be on a case-by-case scenario, depending on each business. But this is the way that I would do it.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Alex, this has been awesome. So I do appreciate you and spending some time with us today and talking to the concept and the topic of privilege access management has been very helpful. I can assure you that there will be some further questions and some follow-up that we need to do, because this was, like I said, this has been very informative, and I do, like I said, appreciate you. So without further ado, I want to say thank you, and appreciate your time today, and we'll see you at the next session of the Pixels.
Thank you very much, Bert, for your invitation.
All right, thank you. Okay, all right, Alex. Bye now.
Bye.